everyone, it's me, Terri of the Yarn Joy Podcast. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, it is part 3 of the corner to corner join as you go blanket crochet along. In part 1, we started with just a standard corner to corner square, and then I showed you how to do the join as you go method to get your first strip made. So here's my first strip. As you can see, here's my beginning tail right down here in the corner. And so this was my first square going this direction with my stitching. And then my second square was right here and it went up that direction. And here is my third square. It started where I had left off from the second square, and the stitches go this direction, corner to corner. And then my fourth square started here and went this direction. And then my fifth square started on this corner and went up to that marker right there in this direction, okay? So the way that I decided to do my blanket, or the size I decided to do, is the corner blocks are 14 block squares. And then I'm doing them 5 squares high and 4 squares wide. So that was the beginning of my first strip. We did that in part 1. Part 2, I showed you how to turn and how to start going down your work. The first square was basically done the same way that we had been doing the first column. Okay, so here was my first square. I got to about this point right here, and I had to end up adding my second cake of yarn. I'm using Lion Brand Mandala. I'm using 2 cakes of Thunderbird and 2 cakes of Gnome, those 2 colorways. It seems to work well with this design as far as the length of the color runs before it changes to the next color. I'm using a 5mm hook throughout this project, okay? So I ended up here. When I was turning the corner, I had to add my new cake, and then so this square was finished out going this direction. I ended up at this corner, and then my second square of this second column started here, and then I showed you how we did a basic corner to corner join as you go for the first half of the square. Once we got to this corner, then we were doing joining on both sides, and I showed you how I did my join. Don't know if it's the proper join, but it's the way I've been doing it, and it seems to be working out fine. So I showed you how to do this, where you're joining on both sides for this square, okay? So this square was done starting this corner, and it ended up here. And then I started my third square in this corner here, and I went this direction, okay? And it had joining 2 sides until we got to the halfway mark, and then from the halfway mark decreasing down to the square. It was just the basic corner stitch, not joining to anything, and doing decreasing on each edge, okay? And then my fourth square started right here. I am putting markers, as you can see, where all the you know, between the squares, so then I can see where one square starts and the other one ends, okay? So my fourth square started in this corner. I did this one just like the 2 squares before, the second square, all right? Yeah, the second square, where I am joining one side until I got to the halfway mark, and then I'm joining 2 sides, and I showed you how to do that. It's just like square number 2 up there. And then my last square started out right here, and the stitches went this direction, okay? And I ended right here at the end. I finished off that square, slip stitch to the end, and so now I am at the bottom here, okay? And according to my chart, let me show you this chart here. Let me zoom up. Okay, so the chart, I drew a line. Here was my beginning tail right here, okay? And so this was column number 1. So we went up this direction. These lines are showing you the direction the stitches were running. When I got up to the top of strip number 1, we turned the corner, and then we went down this direction. That was what we did last week in part 2 of our video. And so now I am ready. I'm at this corner right here where that circle is, and I am ready to turn the corner, and then I'm going to be going back up this column to the top, okay? And so the joins it's the same way that I've been showing you from column number 2. Okay, as you're doing the work, you can kind of tell where you're having to do the joins. Okay, so let's go ahead and I will get you started on column number 3, and we will head back up the chart. Okay, so set that aside, and I'm going to find my corner here, zoom you up and get repositioned. Okay, so here was my corner, and the first thing I do is I do an increase block by chaining 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then go ahead and finish that increase block by double crocheting into the 4th chain from the hook. Double crochet, and then double crochet into the next chain, and then double crochet into the next chain. Okay, so there we have our first block of that square. Okay, so let's lay our project out here. Okay, so here's the square. Okay, and here's our block that we just made. Pull you up. Okay, so there's the block we just made. Okay, so we either have to attach it to this side or this side. Well, if we attach it to this side, you can see that if it would start a block going down this way, and we don't want that. We need for it to be on this side, so then we can start going up this row, right? We've already gotten the length that we want. We don't want 6 squares long, we want 5. In my case, you make your blanket as large as you want it. Okay, so that means that I don't want to connect it to here. I want to connect it to this side. Okay, so I turn my block around. Okay, and I'm going to slip stitch in between the first square on this side and the second square of that second block of that square. So let me zoom you up, reposition you. Sorry if I'm making you seasick. Okay, so I'm going to slip stitch right between the first and second square of that block of that square with a slip stitch. Okay, so there is the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and grab a stitch marker, if I can find one. I'm going to take one from this edge because we're done with this edge over here. I don't have to worry about having a marker there. I'm going to go ahead and put my marker right here just to show me where that square is starting. Okay, so there's our first square. I need to put my yarn on that side. Okay, now I'm going to do the next row, which I need to get up one level up this block. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch in between the next 2 blocks. That will get me up to the level that I need. And then chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I need to turn my work. All this over. Okay, and now I'm going to just complete this row of corner to corner by doing 3 double crochets into that chain 3 loop. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch, connecting it to our first square there, or block, slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets into that chain 3 loop. So that's the completion of row 2. So now we have, that's the first square, and then the second row has 2 squares, right? Because we're doing diagonal. Okay. So now we're going to do an increase square and turn our work and then come back down this way. And then when we do that, we have to connect to this side. So chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook, or the 3rd chain from the bottom. Double crochet into the next chain, double crochet into the next chain. Okay, now we're ready to turn our work. So turn everything over. Now we're going to connect, there's our stair steps. So we're going to connect to this one with a slip stitch into that chain 3 loop there. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets into that loop. 1, 2, 3. Oop, lost that one. 3. Now we need to connect to this top step, right, with the slip stitch. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. 3 double crochets into that chain 3 loop. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're at the top of our little stairs. We just need to connect this block to that square, which is its mate, this one that's going to line up with, right? And so what we do is we have to slip stitch in between these 2 blocks right there. Okay, and that completes row 3. So now we have the first row, it's got 1 block, second row's got 2, third row's got 3. Okay, now we're going to go up to the next block by chaining 3. 1, oop. 1, 2, oh my goodness. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch into between the next 2 blocks. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn our work. So you can see those stair steps right there. And then double crochet into that chain 3 loop that we just made. 1, 2, 3. 3 double crochets into it. Okay, and now we're working our way back down the stair step. So we need to slip stitch into this one to join it to this one, the top of it, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 double crochets into that loop. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we're going to connect to the next stair step right there, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 double crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, and then we have to connect to this last chain, this last block there by slip stitching in the top of it there. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3, 3 double crochets into that loop. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's how you do the join. We're just joining on that one side. Okay, so I'll do an increase block, turn my work, and then work back up the stair steps. When I get up here, I will join in between these 2 blocks right here. That'll be the top of it, right? And then I will chain 3 and join to between the next 2 blocks, turn our work. Oh no, join and then chain 3 up, turn our work, and then we start going down the stair step. So we do the joining just like the way I show you until we get all the way up to this mark right here, because that is the top of our square, the previous square. And so once we get there, then we need to start decreasing down our square to close up that square, because when we get there, we will just have a triangle, right? It's a half of a square, and so then we need to close it up. So when I get to the top of this square, I will come back and I will show you decreasing both of those sides, because I had some questions about decreasing the square for corner to corner, and so when I get there, I will show you that to give you a little refresher. Okay, meet you there. Okay, so I finished the first half of my square. I have 14 blocks counting up this side up to this marker, and if I count from this marker to the end here, I have 14 blocks. So that I know that means I don't need to increase anymore. And since I'm at this marker here, I'm not going to connect up here until I'm doing the next square. Okay, so all I need to do now is just decrease these two ends, both of them, and work my way down to square this triangle off to make it a square. The last row that I did, I worked my way up. I joined the final square here, worked my way up doing the corner to corner stitch, and I included a square right there on the top because now this counts 14 squares, which are my 14 blocks. My squares are 14 blocks by 14, okay? So in order to continue, I'm going to chain 1. Okay, I'm not going to chain 6 because I don't need this to be any longer now. I want to start decreasing this down to make this square. I'm going to take my watch off because that way it's not distracting. Sorry about that. And I'm putting on silent. Okay. Okay, so I don't want to chain 6 because I don't want to make a block on top of that because that would make this square too wide. So I'm going to just chain 1 and then turn my work over, and I'm going to slip stitch across that square that I just made. This chain 1, usually when I start slip stitching, let me bring it up here higher. Okay, so that block has the chain 3 and had 3 double crochets in it, right? I chained 1, and usually when I work my way across, I don't work in this first, I don't slip stitch into the first double crochet because the chain 1 is going to go right over the top of it, and it kind of, to me, that's the equivalent of that stitch. And so when I slip stitch, I go into the next double crochet and I slip stitch into that one. And then I slip stitch across by slip stitching into the next one. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and slip stitch into this chain 3 loop. Okay, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to turn my work, the whole thing, finding my stair steps here. Okay, and so I chain 3, and now I'm going to do 3 double crochets into that loop. 1, 2, and 3. That makes my first square of that row. Okay, I need to join to the next stair step with a slip stitch. Okay, so when I do that, see, it starts squaring off. You know, it didn't make a block further this way. It's now going to start squaring off the edge. So now I just do the basic corner to corner all the way up. I'm going to chain 3 right here, 3 double crochets into the chain 3 loop, and then slip stitch to the top of the next stair step. Okay, see that? So I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the next stair step, and then I'm just going to repeat that, chain 3, and then 3 double crochets into that chain 3 loop, 1, 2, 3, and then slip stitch to the next stair step. Okay, okay, so I'm going to do that all the way up to the top. Okay, let me go ahead, I'll do that, and I'll meet you when I get up there. Okay, okay, so I just got up to the top of this row, and as you can see, I need to slip stitch to the very top stair step. So let me go ahead and do that. Slip stitch into that chain 3 loop. Okay, and so now it's even with where this marker, you can see that red marker right there. It's even with where the marker is. So I don't want to put a block up on top because that block right here would be the next to this red one, and that is also actually getting into the next square on our blanket, and so we're not ready to do that yet. So all I want to do now is chain 1, turn my work, slip stitch across this block, just like we did at the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. Chain 1. Now we're going to turn our work again. Okay, put my yarn on that side. Okay, so now I'm going to slip stitch across this block. I skipped that first one because the chain 1 is going to be right on top of it, and I slip stitch into the next one. And then I slip stitch into the next double crochet there. And then I slip stitch into that chain 3 loop. Okay, now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I want to turn my work around where I can see my stair steps. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do 3 double crochets into that chain 3 loop right here, and this will make the first block. 1, 2, 3. I need to slip stitch the top of the next step there. Okay, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I just continue on and see how this is beginning to square off this edge. Okay, so let me turn it this way so you can see the beginning of the square, and I'll zoom out here. Okay, so pull that up. You can see here is the bottom of our square right there, the blue marker there, and then here is the top of my square right here. Okay, here is the other corner of my square, and now this is straightening out here, right? It's squaring the top off, and up here you can see it's going this way. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that. When I get to this end, I'll chain, when I do this square right there, connect it to this one, then I'll chain 1, turn my work, and then work across that square with slip stitches just the way I did here, and then I'd work my way back up. And so each time, each end you do that, and eventually that will make your square. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this square. Okay, so here is my square completed. All I have to do here is, if you can see that, I need to go ahead and connect to that very top stair step to completely seal off my square. I want to chain 1 and then turn my work, so that way I can slip stitch across the top edge, just like I've been doing the decrease edges. So then I can get myself, or my hook, in the corner of my work. So slip stitching all the way to the edge. Okay, so now I'm in the corner of my work, and I have completed, let me zoom you out here. I have completed this square. So now I am ready to start square number 2 in the chart, which would be right here. We just completed, where's my pencil here? We just completed square number 1 of strip number 3. And so now we are getting ready to do square number 2. We're going to work our way up to the top there. Let me turn my work over and we can see how it looks compared to the square, to the chart, sorry. Okay, so there is my square. Let me zoom you out. Okay, so this is strip number 3, strip number 2, and strip number 1 is over here, right? Okay, so as you can see, the stitches went from this end, and you can see where the color changes is what angle the stitches went in. And I already drew the stitch lines on that square matching up with this one, and here is where we're at right now, that corner. And so now we're going to be doing the opposite. We're going to do stitches going this direction to work up to this corner. Okay, so you're just going to go back and forth just like you did part 2, strip number 2 in video number part 2. Okay, so if you need to refer back to video number 2, that will show you the 2 different types of joins that I demonstrated in that video, and it is the same. It's going to be the same for strip number 3, also the same for strip number 4, okay? So go ahead and refer back to video number 2 if you need a refresher on doing that. I'm going to go ahead and finish strip number 3, turn my work when I get up to the top here to my chart, turn and work my way down and complete strip number 4. I think you have all that you need in really basically in the first 2 parts of video parts of this tutorial. This one was kind of a repeat, but it was just, I just wanted to check in, see how everybody's doing with it, and show you my progress on it. And then go ahead and let you go. Let you go on it, and let you go ahead and finish up your blankets. And I'm so looking forward to seeing pictures of everybody's completed blankets. If you want to do a border around your blanket, feel free to do that. If I decide on a border for mine, I know the last time I didn't put a border, I felt like it looked fine without it. But if I decide to put a border on this, of course, I will show you what I decide to do with it when I decide that. Okay, I'm gonna go. So everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching this video. See you later in the next video. Bye.